the Haveli.
Hare Krishna everyone, the Mahaprabhu is served at Haveli. So please stay before you go home. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Just a moment.
Krishna
No, what I mean, the top of the bird, bottom row. That row, top of the bird.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
You put me over
Hare
there, but
Krishna,
I'm here. I'm here.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Okay.
Rama Rama, Hare.
No.
Hare Krishna,
Can you, I don't want to interrupt your
Krishna,
services.
Hare
Oh
Hare,
yes, I
Hare
forgot all this.
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna,
Thank you
Hare
so
Hare,
much.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna
Hare
Okay. Keep going on you go.
Oh God, no.
Do it. Come on. Come on. Come on.
This is pretty bad.
No. Okay. Are you giving class? Yes. Giving class. Oh. Okay. She's not giving class. 6 o'clock. Chalo.
Can I start with Namo? Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prasidya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
You're singing for him. And you're begging for some mercy.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
No. Don't be not. Where do you put this back? Yeah. It's late already. People. Hare Krishna. What? to be reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 39. And before we do that, I just wanted to seek blessings from the devotees and the previous acharyas, both online and present in person. So thank you for coming today. Hope I could say something useful. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shra Shri Rupam Sagajatam Saganatha Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vaichana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidamshra He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvabanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kipasindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so today we're reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 39. And what I'll do is I'll read the verse and then I'll ask some volunteers to repeat. But first I'll go line by line. Chapter 11, verse 39. Vayuryamognir varuna shankaha Prajapatistvam prapitam mahascha Namo namaste stu sahasraketva Punashta bhuyopi namo namaste Vayuryamognir varuna shankaha Prajapatistvam papita mahascha Namo namaste stu sahasraketva Punashta bhuyopi namo namaste Vayuryamognir varuna shankaha Prajapatistvam patipatam mahascha Namo namaste stu sahasraketva Punashta Bhuyopi Namo Namaste. Would anyone like to repeat? Yeah. Yes, thank you. Vayuryamugnir Varunashankaha Prajapati Swam Papita Mahascha Namo Namaste Susahasraketva Punashta Bhuyopi Namo Namaste. Anyone else? Thank you. Anyone else want to try the Sanskrit? We could all help each other. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay, no worries. Thank you. Okay, so if you go to the word for word translation, Vayu, air, Yamaha, the controller, Agni, fire, Varuna, water, Shasha Ankaha, the moon, Prajapati, Brahma, Tvam, you, Prapitamaha, the great grandfather, Cha, also, Nama, my respects, Nama, again my respects, Te, unto you, Astu, let there be, Sahasra Kritva, 1,000 times, Punascha, and again, Bhuya, again, Api, also, Namaha, offering my respects, Namahate, offering my respects unto you. And now reading from Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So the translation goes, you are air and you are the supreme controller. You are fire, you are water, and you are the moon. You are Brahma, the first living creature, and you are the great grandfather. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you 1,000 times, and again and yet again. So the purport goes, the Lord is addressed here as air, because the air is the most important representation of all the demigods, being all-pervasive. Arjuna also addresses Krishna as the great grandfather, because he is the father of Brahma, the first living creature in the universe. Okay? So in this verse, Prabhupada makes two main points. The first point is, as the air is all-pervasive, the most important representation of Krishna in the form of the different demigods is Vayu. And the second point he makes in the purport is that Krishna is Prapitamaha, the father of Brahma. So when we go into the detail of this verse, we should know that these are deep prayers with very deep meaning spoken by Arjuna, even though they appear to be quite short. So over here in this verse, we see that first, Arjuna addresses Krishna as Vayu. Why? Because no one could live without the air. Everybody agree? Yes. Yeah? So we have to breathe in and out to live, right? So like this, we have 10 different bodily airs, which have been mentioned in chapter 2, verse 17 of the Gita, and also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6, Verse 9 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And these are prana, apana, vyana, samana, udhana, naga, kurma, krikara, dvadatta, and dhananjaya. So the movements of the body are first generated from the heart, and all the activities of the body are made possible by the senses, powered by the 10 kinds of air within the body. The 10 kinds of air are described as follows. The main air passing through the nose in breathing is called prana. The air which passes through the rectum as evacuated bodily air is called apana. The air which adjusts the foodstuff within the stomach and which sometimes sounds as belching is called samana. The air which passes through the throat and the stoppage of which constitutes suffocation is called the udana air. And the total air which circulates throughout the entire body is called the vyana air. Subtler than these 5 airs, there are others also. That which facilitates the opening of the eyes, mouth, etc. is called naga air. The air which increases appetite is called krikara air. The air which helps contradiction is called kumara air. The air which helps relaxation by opening the mouth wide in yawning is called devadatta air. And the air which helps sustenance is called dhananjaya air. So when the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. And actually the aim of the Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling these 5 kinds of airs, encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures. It's not meant for any material profit, but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So that's the purpose of yoga. The purpose of yoga is to connect to Krishna. Yoga means connection, connect to the Supreme. Not for any other purpose. Like the modern, now we think yoga is meant to, to maintain a good physical physique. And others do it for material profit. They meditate for that. So we have 10 body airs within our body, and that's why in this particular verse, Vayu comes first, because without air we cannot live, like I said. Just like in Ayurveda, when an Ayurvedic doctor touches our pulse, the pulse of our body, he can make out 3 things. How well the air is circulating within our body, how much bile and mucus we have. So he can make out the kapha, pitta, and vayu content of our body. According to the balance of the kapha, pitta, and vayu, he gives us an Ayurvedic medicine, to balance this out. And this is opposed to allopathic doctors who tell you to get a blood test first and then prescribe you a medicine based on the results of the test, right? But in Ayurveda, it's not like that. Actually, the whole body is dependent on air, bile and mucus. And when any of them increase or decrease too much, it brings about a problem in the body. So that's when we see we get some sort of a disease, right? So air is very important. We can only know if a person is living if they are breathing. Therefore, Arjuna refers to Krishna as Vayu. So that's the first thing. So the second word, secondly, Arjuna says Krishna refers to you are Yama. And Yama in this verse means the controller of all. Most of us know Yama as death or Yamaraj, but over here Yama means controller. Krishna is the supreme controller of everyone and everything. And what famous verse? Does anyone know the first verse of the Brahma Samhita? What famous verse proves that Krishna is the controller? Can anyone recall this or knows this off by heart? Okay. Sarva Karana Karanam. Thank you. It's a really nice verse to remember by memory. Thank you so much for filling that in. So the translation goes, Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. Yeah? So Krishna is the controller of everyone, actually, including Yamraj. So you see, when you read the story of Ajamil in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first question the Yamadutas ask Yamraj is there any other controller beside you? And Yamraj replies, yes, there is someone still superior to us, and that is Lord Narayan or Krishna. Yeah? So we cannot deny God just by saying there is no God. God is the controller, the supreme controller. You cannot say that you're not controlled. There is a controller. Even in regard to the state, even with regard to the government, you cannot say there is a controller. There is a controller. In every street, in every house, there's a government control. I mean, even when we walk onto the street or drive our car, there is control. You have to keep to the left. You cannot cross when there's a stop sign. Yeah, we have to stop. So in this way, we are under control, right? So there is a controller, and the supreme controller is Krishna. There's one controller over another controller. If you go on searching out who is this ultimate controller, then you'll find Krishna. And again, that's affirmed in the Brahma Samhita verse that we just recited. Ishvara Parama Krishna. The supreme controller is Krishna. We have to get knowledge of this controller and how he is controlling. So Vijnanam, the knowledge Krishna refers to means to not only know the controller, but to know he's controlling. How many energies has he got? This knowledge can be understood by a person who has made a relationship with Krishna and is a surrendered soul. Without being surrendered, it is very difficult to understand the controller, his energies, and how he is controlling everything. Right? So even when we go to school, right? If you don't surrender ourselves to the rules and regulation of that institution, we can't take advantage of the knowledge imparted by that school or that university. So wherever we want to receive something, we have to be controlled. Or you have to be surrendered to the rules and regulations. Yeah? So, we're actually, we think as parts and parcels of Krishna. So actually parts and parcels of Krishna, right? And Krishna is the supreme controller. And because we're parts and parcels of Krishna, we're the same in quality as Krishna, but different in quantity, right? And therefore, because Krishna is the supreme controller, we also try and become the ultimate controller, which is impossible. We're actually just mini controllers. So Krishna is Ishwar, and we're mini Ishwars, right? Like mini controllers. You can say, what do we have control over really? Do you have control over anything? No? So, just look. We think that, one example I could think of, a parent thinks they're in control of the child. Right or wrong? Not really, right? Yeah. Shishi Radha Kukulanandaki. So a parent thinks that they're in control of the child. But even that's, they're not really. Because, you may give that child the best education, may send them to a private school, and when they grow older, they go to university, they get they may move away from home, and then they get the association of those who are not such a good influence on them, and they could get influenced by that. I mean, I know I know someone, actually a family friend. So I could relate to this. So their mum sent them to a private school. They spent so much money on their education and trying to bring them up nicely. But when he went to uni, unfortunately, due to the bad influence of others, the bad association, he took up to drugs. Not only did he take up to drugs, he sexually abused a girl, and now he's in prison. So that mother who thought she was in control of the child, who tried to give him the best possible education, the best possible, best possible manners and stuff as well, all changed and not in control, right? Forget about the children. Are we even in control of ourselves? Can we say we're in control of ourselves? No, we can't even control our own mind, let alone someone else, right? So, and similarly, we could say, we're partially in control. Like, say for example, I've got an exam in June. Now, what I'm in control of is how hard I work and how hard I revise, right? What I'm not in control of is how hard the paper will be. And, Krishna is remembrance and forgetfulness. So, on the day I might have a bad day, I might forget everything. I'm not in control of that, yeah? And so, we think we're in control, but we're not in control. Krishna is in control. And surely, that in that way, we're actually not in control of anything, right? So next, in this verse, Prabhupada refers to Krishna. He says, "You are fire." Yeah? And in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 9, Krishna says, "I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penance of all aesthetics." So everything original has some smells, some fragrance, and some taste. In this verse, when Krishna says he is fire, because without fire, we cannot run factories, we cannot cook, etc. And that fire is Krishna. The heat in the fire is Krishna. So according to Vedic medicine, indigestion is due to low temperature in the belly. So even for digestion, fire is needed. In Krishna consciousness, we become aware that earth, water, fire, air, and every active principle, all chemicals, and all material elements are due to Krishna. The duration of man's life is also due to Krishna. Therefore, by the grace of Krishna, man can prolong his life or diminish it. So Krishna consciousness is active in every sphere, right? So we could see Krishna everywhere. The idea being is that, when we eat, we could remember Krishna, because that Krishna's, Arjuna said, Krishna is fire, the fire of digestion. And then in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 12, Krishna says, "The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of the whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me." So again, he's saying the moon is me, that comes from me, the fire comes from me. So actually, the unintelligent cannot understand how things are taking place. But one can begin to establish in knowledge by understanding what the Lord explains here. Everyone sees the sun, moon, fire, and electricity, right? So one should simply try to understand that the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, and the splendor of electricity or fire are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In such a conception of life, the beginning of Krishna consciousness lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned soul in this material world. Prabhupada says, the living entity are essentially the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and he is given herewith the hint how they could come back to Godhead, back to Him. So from this verse we can understand that the sun is illuminating the whole solar system. There are different universes and solar systems, and there are different suns, moons, and planets. But in each universe there's only one sun. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 21, the moon is one of the stars. Sunlight is due to the spiritual effulgence in the spiritual sky of the Supreme Lord. With the rising of the sun, the activities of human beings are set up. They set fire to prepare the foodstuff. They set fire to start the factories. So many things are done with the help of fire. Therefore, sunrise, fire, and moonlight are so pleasing to the living entities that without their help, no living entity can live. So if one can understand that the light and the splendor of the sun, moon, and fire are emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then one's Krishna consciousness will begin. Yeah? Because when we see this, we actually see Krishna. Yeah? So by the moonshine, all the vegetables are nourished. The moonshine is so pleasing that people can easily understand that they are living by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Without His mercy, there cannot be a sun. Without His mercy, there cannot be the moon. And without His mercy, there cannot be fire. And without the help of the sun, fire, moon, and fire, no one could live. So these are some thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness in conditioned souls. So Prabhupada's saying, right? Like I said, Prabhupada says, Krishna says, I'm the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the 4 kinds of foodstuff. Yeah? So I'll move on. So next, Arjuna compares Krishna to water. So now, even the doctor says that, that our body is composed of, does anyone know how much percentage of water?
75 to 80.
Yeah?
Sometimes people say 75.
Yeah, so quite substantial, 70 to 80%, right? Can we survive without water then, therefore? No, right? So they say water is life, right? So this water is an energy of Krishna. To survive, we need water. So if a person is very, very thirsty and need of water, his mentality of the brain cannot even work. So when we're dehydrated, you see that you can't think properly, right? So water is needed for thinking, right? My brother, one thing my brother always tells me, before you go into an exam, I follow his advice because he's quite academically clever. You must keep drinking water. And whenever I follow his advice, it works. I actually am able to think better in my exam. So water is really important. So that's just a random example, but yeah, water is important, right? So, even this earth is filled with so many oceans. Yeah, because most of the earth is water, right? And we have supply of water from rivers or rain. And this is how we live, as there cannot be any vegetation without rain. So water is very, very important, right? And then Krishna says, O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon. Yeah, the syllable om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and the ability in the mind. So Krishna is saying, I am the taste of water, right? So this verse explains how the Lord is all pervasive, by its diverse material and spiritual energies. The Supreme Lord can be preliminarily perceived by its different energies, and this way he is realized impersonally. As the demigod in the sun is a person and is perceived by all pervasive energy, the sunshine, so the Lord, although in his eternal abode, is perceived by his all-pervading diffusive energies. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink seawater. If someone gave you seawater, would you drink it? No, right? But because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt. Attraction for water depends on the purity of the taste, and this pure taste is one of the energies of the Lord. So the impersonalist perceives the presence of the Lord in water by its taste, and the personalist also glorifies the Lord for his kindly supplying tasty water to quench man's thirst. So that is the way of perceiving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and the personal conception are simultaneously present in everything, and that there is no contradiction. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya established his sublime doctrine, Achinta Beda Beda Tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference, right? So, next, Arjuna describes Krishna as Shashanka, and the translation of this is the moon. Without the sun and the moon, like we said, no one could live, right? The moon is very important as it brings about vegetation. Without the moon, there would be no vegetation and greenery on this earth. If you observe the moon, it comes out for 2 weeks and disappears for 2 weeks. There's a waxing moon and there's a waning moon. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 20, verses 3 and 4, it describes how the moon Chandra is responsible for our mind. Therefore, when we find that our mind is very peaceful, this means that the moon is happy, or the demigod of the moon, Chandra, is happy with you. So if you happen to see Chandra out at night, we should join our hands and pray to Chandra to keep our mind always soothing, cool. Because most of us have a very boiling mind, right? And this process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, cools the mind down, as the mind is, like I said, always boiling all the time. So why is it boiling? Because so many senses are dragging the mind in different directions. So the mind has the capacity of going into 8.4 million directions, actually. So when we see the soothing moonshine, especially on the day of Purnima, it is very pleasing. Similarly, when one becomes a pure devotee, his mind is like the soothing moon. He is very, very pleasing by his speech, words, and action, and his speech, words, and action as well as the best. So we have to try and become like that devotee. That's why the word Shankar is used for the moon. The moon is necessary for the material world, for vegetation, and it is also the presiding deity of our mind. And Krishna is the original moon. And it also, we're running out of time, but lots of points to make. So Krishna, actually, it says that the eyes of Krishna are the sun and the moon. So you have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. So when we see the sun and moon, we could see Krishna's eyes. It's just so beautiful, like, if you think of it like that. Then, Arjuna refers to Krishna as Prajapati. And Prajapati means the original creator, Krishna, Brahma. So Prajapati actually means progenitor. Krishna gives a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Brahma is the original creator born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord, who is known as Hirangarbha. And from Brahma, all the 7 great sages, and before them 4 other great sages, named Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara, and the 14 Manus are manifest. So all these 25 great sages are known as the patriarchs of the living entities all over the universe. There are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe, and each planet is full of the population of different varieties. And all of them are born of these 25 patriarchs. Right? So I'm going to cut. So the secret about creation is that it's not from matter, but from a person, the original spirit, Krishna, from whom the whole creation is coming. From Krishna comes Balaram. From Balaram, second expansion, comes the Chaturvayu, Aniruddha, Sankarshan, Vasudev, Pradyumna. From the Chaturvayu comes the second Chaturvayu, the same, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Vasudev. From Sankarshan comes Mahavishnu, and when Sankarshan breathes, he creates millions of universes, and in each of these universes, he's expanded as Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and from the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu comes Brahma, and he's further expanded as Kshirodaksha Vishnu, as a super soul in our heart, and its expansion in every atom in this world, right? So Krishna, so we see, so that's why Krishna is referred to as, he said, it's referred to as Prajapati. And then Arjuna also says Krishna is Prapitamaha. Why is he Prapitamaha? As he's the great grandfather of all the Prajapatis. So Krishna is the oldest in this universe. As before Krishna, of course, there's nothing there from whom everything is coming, and he is from whom everything is coming. I wanted to say more, but in the Chatur Shloki of the Canto 2 of Bhagavatam, so that's for your reference if you don't know it, it's Canto 2, chapter 9, verses 33 to 36. It basically makes it very clear that Krishna was born before the creation. It was he who was in the creation, and even after annihilation, Krishna says he'll still be there. This means that even when nothing is there, Krishna will always be there. So Krishna is called Prapitamaha, from which everything emanates. And then finally, again, so Arjuna says, again and again I bow down thousands of times to you, Krishna. So whenever we see Krishna, we should bow down. This is for our own good, because Krishna also says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhya jinam namaskuru mame vashi satyam te pati jane piyosi me. He says, engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me surely will come to me. So Krishna advises us to bow down to him because we're always very puffed up. We all have a lot of pride, so much so that if we tell someone that we are proud, that they are proud, no one likes it. But the truth is, we have pride. When we come to realize pride after so many years of we come to realize that we have pride after so many years of chanting, actually. The easiest way to put pride away or to reduce our pride is to bow down to Krishna, which begins by surrendering to Krishna, which is why the verse Manmana bhava mad bhakto is repeated twice in the Bhagavad Gita. So why is this repeated? Because these 4 things are very important. Manmana Mad Bhakto, become my devotee, Mad Dhyaji, worship me and namaskuru, bow down to me. So you have to bring Krishna in all that. So the principle in this verse is that we have to bring Krishna in the center of all our activities. So I actually had a lot more to say, but the point, so the reason why, this is a practical point that I'll probably make, right? So bowing down to Krishna reduces our pride, right? So we all find that we make mistakes. Nobody can say they've never made mistakes, right? That'd be lying. When we realize our mistakes, even if we do not admit to them, we know very well that we have made a mistake, right? We should at least fold our hands, admit our mistakes to Krishna, or the Lord of the heart, expressing our regret for performing the action. By doing so, not only do we gain knowledge, but the grace of Krishna. It is better to admit if something goes wrong because of you. This is why the words of the pure devotees by nature, if you hear their language carefully, are very pleasing. Yeah? So, it's like even when you're writing a Vyas Puja offering, you start off with, please accept my humble obeisances. Why? Because it's easier to bow down to someone superior. So in conclusion, because it's nearly Gaurati, nearly 1 minute, I haven't timed myself correctly today, but in conclusion, by analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna, there's no distinction between matter and spirit. Or in other words, he is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stages of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no distinction. He sees only Krishna in everything. Since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form, comprising all material manifestations, is also Krishna. And his pastimes in Vrindavans, as two-handed Shyamasundar, playing on the flute, are those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, I know we've only got 1 minute left, but does anyone have any questions? Please accept my apologies for the mistakes I made. And yeah, I ran over time. Does anyone have any questions? Maybe we could take one question or two questions. No? No questions? Yeah, so thank you so much for tolerating me and listening to me. Yes, I did have a lot more to say, but time did not permit. So, yeah, thank you.
Navita Kosi Chandrajini Vadana Ujvala Asya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Acharya Stotra Shata Shri Shimat Bhaktivedanta Swami Shiva Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajika Acharya Stotra Shata Shri Shimat Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Bhajanacharya Shila Narottama Das Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavana Dama Ki Jai Shri Maipur Dama Ki Jai Jagannatha Puri Dama Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Paladala Dadaine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatankanakalaya Ito nersimo parato nersimo Yato, yato, yamitato nersimo Ahir nersimo, hridaye nersimo Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade Tava Karakamalavare Naka Adbhuta Shringa Darita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Brinda Keshvadarita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Shri Narasimhadev Bhagavan ki, Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki.